Hello, everybody. I'm back. I must apologize. I fell asleep, like, probably about, I don't know, about 35, 40 minutes through episode 3. I fell asleep. So, you know, what am I going to do? You know, I really did want to take a nap yesterday before it all started, but it just didn't work out. I was busy doing things, and just by the time I had a chance to lay down, I would have only been able to lay down for like an hour and a half, and had I tried to do that, that just wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. I wouldn't have wanted to wake up in an hour and a half, and so that was the dilemma I was in. So I tried to push through, but unfortunately, middle of episode 3, I fell asleep. Now, as far as episode 3 goes, oh yes, I love episode 3, folks. It's about the bones. I mean, they addressed the bones. She has her expert there, John DeHaan, who is like a renowned bone expert, and when it comes to burning bodies and in the finding of cremains, this guy is the tops. He's seen more cadavers be burned than anybody else, you know, in the field, basically. So very interesting to listen to him and hear him talk about what's fishy about the bones in the burn pit and that sort of stuff. Let me navigate to this here. Alright. Hey Johnny, how's it going? You fell asleep too, Maggie? Yeah, I was like halfway through episode 3, and I mean, the funny part is I was paying attention and I found it all very interesting. You fell asleep too, Maggie? Yeah, I found it all very interesting, but particularly, well, anyways, but I was still just, my eyelids were just so heavy, and I fell asleep. So, but I rewatched it, just got finished. I started from right where I fell asleep, and was rewatching it. Man, guys, there's something in there that I had not previously realized. It may be that some other people out there, you know, saw this, but somehow I missed it. When Kathleen Zellner was there talking with some of her young like associates, I think, at her firm there, and she was asking them about the burn barrels and what did they find out about the burn barrels, and so they begin to tell you what happened. I thought that was very interesting, because I had assumed that Ertl found the bones when they were searching the burn barrel on like the 8th. Yeah, it would have been the 8th. They were called out to Avery Salvage, but they went back to Calumet to finish sifting the burn barrels. So that was on the 8th. Did you notice in that Making a Murderer there, she talks about how the human bones weren't found on the 8th. That there was 2 officers that were out at Cuss Road on the 12th. They came back to Calumet County, and they had Burn Barrel 2 searched again, basically 4 days later after Ertl and his team had searched it, and suddenly human bones are there. And is that reminding anybody of anything else in this case? Like the key that was missed on 8 searches and then suddenly appears? I had not realized that those bones in that barrel had been found. I somehow missed that they were found 4 days later after Ertl and his team had sifted it. That, to me, was a huge, huge find. And that's to me, you know, it just adds to the accumulation of the shady, you know, antics of the law enforcement and the investigators here. You're on episode 7. Yeah, well, you know, I'll get there. I'm on episode 4. I'm also on episode 4. As soon as I sign off from this live session, I'm gonna be watching episode 4, and I'll go through the rest of the day, you know, watching it and doing a live session. Yes, the dogs were hitting on things over on Cuss Road and that sort of stuff. The interesting part that I found is that once again, it's evidence being found after it's already been thoroughly searched. You know, it's 4 days later after it's been thoroughly searched by crime scene tech Ertl and his team, and then suddenly they somehow missed human bones. Yeah, it's just bizarre, strange, and just another thing that Kathleen Zellner is pointing out that, yeah, just like I said, it's just like the key. How the hell does the key get missed? And then suddenly on the 8th search, whatever, and it just suddenly, poof, there it is, it appears. Alright, so. The other things, the other thing that they started, the thing that was good is they finally started talking about Brendan. And they finally started talking about what was going on with his case and how he was, they finally start to talk about Judge Duffin granting him the habeas relief and what the state and how the state was kind of sitting on their hands, and they weren't sure, the state just wasn't sure what it wanted to do, and it was just waiting and waiting. So, they haven't moved on, in that process, but I'm glad they started talking about it. So, I want everybody to know exactly what happened with Brendan, how he won twice, how he was right there on the cusp, and then suddenly, strangely, oddly, that the en banc review, which is extremely rare, the en banc review is granted and suddenly goes against Brendan after he's won twice. It's just also fishy. Plus, you have the fact that the majority judges of the en banc review are including the control question to bolster their argument. And the fact of the matter is, the control question is an unreasonable fact found by the state courts. And for the majority judges to deny Brendan and use that fact in their decision to reinforce their decision, an unreasonable fact which they should have been using to overturn, to affirm the overturning of his conviction, they were using that fact that proves how malleable and how suggestible Brendan was as proof of how much he was resisting. It's mind-bogglingly bizarre. And these are learned judges that have made it to, who have been appointed to federal, court, a federal court. They've been appointed to this judgeship. They're learned. They understand the English language. How are they missing this? It's just bizarre. Just wait. There's more stuff revealed. Oh, I know. I'm sure there will be. As I've said before, I didn't expect to find too much in MAM2 that was going to shock me or that I didn't know, because I've been researching this so much. There's not a huge chance of something that I just haven't heard about or didn't know. But for whatever reason, I did not know that. I had always thought that they found those bones in Burn Barrel 2 on the 8th when Ertl and his team were going through Burn Barrel 2. This thing about them going back into Burn Barrel 2 on the 12th and suddenly finding bones there after it's been gone through by the lead crime scene tech and his team is just, bizarre and unbelievable. Can't believe how much Brendan Dassey has changed over the years. Seems like he's way more intelligent and well-spoken. Oh, certainly. He's learning. He's educating himself, and that certainly helps. That certainly helps when you're a suggestible young teen like he was and stuff, is just getting yourself educated. Reading, culturing yourself. That helps. It certainly helps. And, Brendan's problems were never problems that were just could never be overcome. They were just kind of little problems he had that were little setbacks that he just needed to learn to deal with, to compensate for, essentially. And he's done that now. He's taught himself enough, he's read enough, he's learned enough, and he's beginning to, to form a more confident identity that he didn't have back in 2005. Same, but it's interesting actually watching the footage of Zellner working on all the time. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's freaking awesome getting to see Zellner working, and her experts showing us this stuff, getting to actually see the experiments instead of just reading about them in the filings. This is very exciting. It's very exciting, and it's why I wanted to watch MAN2 so much, is because I knew that we were hopefully going to get to be able to see some of these experiments and actually see the visual representation, which, there's really, it's just so important. It really helps people understand, and it helps it stick with them better. Eric Martin Smith, yes, sir. So, Yeah, that's my thoughts on it are, yeah. I mean, it's amazing. It's great. I think MAM 2 is great. I actually worried that it might lean to, or it might be using a lot of legal speak and possibly might have been a little technical in that sense, but it looks like they're keeping it pretty understandable for people who aren't really wordy, who don't have who don't have the largest vocabulary in the world, like say most lawyers and people educated to that level would have. But it's not, so like I said, it's not burying people in legal speak. It's actually explaining all these things in pretty plain language, which I think is good. And I think, like I said, man, I'm getting to watch these experiments on the TV screen and actually see it happening is amazing. Actually, from Indianapolis, and I remember the Larry Eiler case. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was interesting when talking about that. Zellner wasn't interested in getting that guy out. She ended up getting that guy to confess, but had to wait till he actually died because of attorney-client privilege, but upon his death was able to at least offer the families of many of his victims closure, and I thought that was great. Oh, they're absolutely they're explaining it so well. I like the way that Laura and Steve Drizzen, the way that they've gone about explaining kind of the intricacies of everything that's gone on with Brendan. Particularly the way that they illustrated and the way that they edited and showed certain parts of the interview that kind of culminated with their biggest points of why we feel Brendan was coerced, why we feel his confession was involuntary, and the way that they spliced the clips together showing, Mark and Tom, going after Brendan, being aggressive, and pretty much just flat out telling him what they want him to say. And those types of things was pretty powerful. And then when you hear the way that they go about explaining it, I just think that they found a really, really nice, tight way to really sum up what's going on with Brendan and why it's so heinous, really. I also didn't realize how many times Brendan won. Yeah, he won twice. Yeah. I knew it, but I didn't understand it all until now. Yeah, see, that's the thing about visual representations like this. I mean, you get to really, kind of fully understand it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this stream off now, so I can go ahead and move on to episode 4 because I'm pretty excited and now I'm not tired anymore. So I'm ready to forge on. So I might end up catching up with some of you that are already on episode 7 or whatever. So, but we'll see. Oh, got a few more here. Let's see. Brendan was just a kid. Every time I see more footage of his confession, I get more angry. Yeah, well, I can understand that. It makes me angry to watch his confession too. I just want to punch, Tom Fassbender and Mark Wiegert right in the nose. But yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this stream off, and we'll see you in between episodes 4 and 5. See you guys.